COP22 Marrakech, will Trump's presidency topple international efforts at climate action? Owing to its own domestic advantages, why America should not withdraw from Paris Agreement. What it would really mean if Trump pulls the US out of the Paris Climate Agreement. What effect would that have on the Paris Agreement as a whole? Why world should look towards pre-2020 action, that is Doha Amendment to the Kyoto Protocol. GS Paper 3, Environmental Impact Assessment, Climate Change. What is the context about? As news of Donald Trump's victory in the US presidential poll came, the anxiety among delegations at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference, COP22, being organized in Marrakech increased. They are worried about the prospect that America might pull out of the Paris Agreement, leading to its collapse. America's role in that agreement is its ambitious pledge to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by 26 to 28% below their 2005 levels by the year 2025. Owing to its own domestic advantages, why America should not withdraw from Paris Agreement. America continuing with pledges and staying in the Paris Agreement will enjoy too many domestic advantages. Investment opportunities provided by the agreement in renewables were significant, and it would be in America's own interest to continue its engagement. Domestic circumstances such as flooding in Florida, Superstorm Sandy, flooding of New York subways and drought in the American Southwest as real consequences of climate change, required the US to continue with its promise. If America under Trump did pull out of the Paris Pact, it would aid China's rise. It is much a matter of international reputation for America. What it would really mean if Trump pulls the US out of the Paris Climate Agreement. The US pledge amounts to the avoidance of 22 gigatons, or billion tons, of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions between the years 2016 and 2030. But all of the pledges, by all of the countries, only amount to the avoidance of a little over 100 gigatons. Thus, the U.S. accounts for around 20% of the total, which is not surprising, given the size of the country and the fact that it is the world's second largest emitter after China. What effect would that have on the Paris Agreement as a whole? If US stitches or simply fails to participate in the Paris Climate Change Agreement, sure, it will have considerable consequences on international diplomacy and on planet Earth. US departure will definitely revive the experience with the Kyoto Protocol, which did not make significant progress after the US Senate did not ratify it. The US could also ignore its voluntary climate action commitments, nationally determined contributions, NDCs, under the Paris Agreement and cut funding for climate finance. If 1/5 emission cuts vanishing with US stitch, the rest of the world would be less likely to take action on their own part, and do their own share. Why world should look towards pre-2020 action, that is Doha Amendment to the Kyoto Protocol. While a US slowdown under Mr. Trump could adversely impact the Paris Accord, experts say that pre-2020 action is vital. The UNEP Emissions Gap 2016 report points out that the Paris commitments are insufficient to stop dangerous global warming. The Doha Amendment to the Kyoto Protocol, which covers climate change mitigation in the pre-2020 period, is critical target of containing global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius target. Given that the US is not a party to the Kyoto Protocol, this process remains in the hands of other developed countries. So far, only 73 nations have ratified the Doha Amendment, though 144 countries are required for it to enter into force. The Marrakech Climate Summit is organizing a facilitative dialogue for ratifying the Doha Amendment this week. The way forward for US. The US dropping out of the Paris process could be a boon to its other biggest participant in terms of its emissions, China. If the US withdraws from the Paris Agreement, that would create a strategic opportunity for China. It would gain credibility globally by sticking with its climate plans even as the US withdraws, helping the Chinese government advance its objectives on a range of topics.